Tonight, your heating system is running. You probably did not think about it. You did not choose to turn it on. It just runs. There is a coat by your door you did not have to kill anything to make. There is food in your kitchen that will still be there next week, no matter how cold it gets outside. Now, take all of that away. No heating, no coat, no stored food, no walls that keep the wind out, just your bare skin. And a winter so cold, it could kill you in your sleep before you even woke up. That used to be normal, not for one bad season. For hundreds of thousands of years, your ancestors lived through real ice ages, where giant sheets of ice covered whole continents, and the cold could kill a person in a few hours. So how did they do it? How does a soft, hairless animal that grew up in African heat survive the coldest weather this planet has ever thrown at a human? That is what we are going through today, because it is one of the best survival stories we have, and almost nobody knows how close we came to not making it at all. Let us be honest about what they were facing. The last ice age was worst around 26,000 to 19,000 years ago. Ice sat on top of Europe, Asia, and North America. The land was flat, frozen, and open, with nothing to stop the wind. Trees were hard to find. Food vanished for months at a time. And humans just are not built for that. We come from warm places. Our bodies still act like it. We do not have thick fur. We do not have a fat layer like a seal. We cannot slow our heartbeat and sleep through the cold like a bear. Take a person's clothes off in real cold, and they have got hours, not days. The body shuts down, and that is the end. The animals around them were made for the cold. Mammoths had fur and fat. Cave bears could hibernate. Reindeer could just walk to somewhere warmer. Humans had none of that. On paper, we should have been one of the first things to die when it got cold. Wrong body, wrong place, worst possible time. But we had a brain that could plan, and hands that could build the things our bodies were missing. That turned out to be enough. Just barely. It started with fire. Nothing works without fire, so that is where it begins. Humans had been using fire for at least 300,000 to 400,000 years. By the Ice Age, fire was not a nice extra. It was the whole thing, and they were very good at it. People digging up Ice Age fire pits in Ukraine found carefully built fireplaces that burned at over 600 degrees Celsius. That is hotter than 1,100 degrees Fahrenheit. When wood ran low on the open land, they burned fat and bone instead. Fire gave them heat, cooked their food, hardened their tools, and added hours of light when the sun barely came up. Then they learned to carry warmth with them. The problem with fire is you cannot take it everywhere. Step away from it, and the cold is right there. So humans did something no other animal could do. They took the warmth off other animals and put it on themselves. At first, it was simple. Skins thrown over the shoulders. People were skinning bears for their fur in northern Europe at least 300,000 years ago. We know because of the cut marks left on the bear paw bones, right where you would cut to pull a skin off clean. Those bear hides made wind and waterproof cloaks. But a loose skin leaks heat through every gap. The fix showed up around 30,000 years ago, and it is so small it sounds silly. The sewing needle, a thin piece of bone with a tiny hole drilled through it. One scientist called it maybe the most important invention in human history. The needle meant you could sew. Fitted clothes, sealed seams, layers, sleeves that closed at the wrist. A blanket on your shoulders and a coat that actually fits are two very different things, and the needle is what turned one into the other. They did not stop at fur either. Deer hide cut the wind and stayed soft enough for mittens and waterproof boots. And before heading out into the cold, hunters would rub animal fat called tallow over their faces and necks. It sealed the skin, held in heat, and stopped the wind from pulling warmth away. Simple. And it worked. Now, everyone pictures cavemen hiding in a deep cave. The truth is better than that. A lot of these people built their own shelters.
Out on the cold land in what is now Ukraine and Russia, there were no caves and barely any wood. So they used the one thing lying around everywhere: mammoth bones. At a site called Mesrich, people found round houses made almost entirely from mammoth bones and tusks. Skulls and big leg bones went into the ground as the base. Ribs and tusks curved up to make the frame. Hundreds of bones in just one house. They were packed with hides, moss, and earth, which held heat well enough to keep a whole family comfortable. The biggest one is about 15,000 years old, right in the coldest part of the Ice Age.
And the design was clever in ways you would not guess. Many winter homes had a cold trap doorway, with the entrance dug lower than the sleeping area. Cold air is heavy, so it sank down into the entrance and stayed there, while the warm air rose up to where the family slept. They figured that out tens of thousands of years before anyone wrote down how it works.
Staying warm keeps you alive tonight, but winter is a slow killer through hunger, too. For months, there was almost nothing to gather and not much to hunt, so they got very good at saving food ahead of time. When they made a big kill, they did not just eat it. The cold did half the work, freezing meat after a hunt, so it kept for later. They smoked meat, dried it into strips, and stored food in pits dug into the ground. There's evidence they sank mammoth meat into cold ponds to keep it fresh longer, like a natural freezer. The hunting was organized too. Ice Age hunters used fire and teamwork to push whole herds of wild horses and reindeer into natural traps. Not once. The same places were used for tens of thousands of years. Kill big, dry the meat, save it for the cold. That plan is most of the reason they lived.
Here is something easy to miss. These people expected winter. Their whole year was built around getting ready for it. We are the ones who get caught off guard. And they used each other. Way more people lived under one roof than we would ever put up with, in way less space. And that was on purpose. Body heat is a real heat source when you pack enough people close together. The person with a room to themselves was not lucky. They were cold and exposed. In a couple thousand years, which is nothing on this timeline, we went from stacking mammoth bones into a house to tapping a button for heat. The deadliest thing our ancestors ever faced is now something we complain about on the walk to a warm car. We beat winter so completely that most people forgot it was ever a war we were losing.